وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وفقها في الدين يا رب العالمين، وألحقنا بعبادك الصالحين. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع وقلب لا يخشع وعين لا تدمع ودعاء لا يستجاب له. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. أما بعد، يقول الله عز وجل: ومن يشاقق الرسول من بعد ما تبين له الهدى ويتبع غير سبيل المؤمنين نوله ما تولى ونصله جهنم وساءت مصيرا. Today, inshallah, we stopped at page number 37 on our book on Usoolul Fiqh by Maulana Khalid Saifullah Rahmani, translated by Mufti Abdullah Mullah from South Africa. Here on page 38, he gives us some books that are specifically to ahadith of books of ahadith that relate to adillah, relate to proofs in hadith specifically. Because we just done the chapter on Sunnah briefly. So here he mentions some of them. For example, Umdatul Ahkam of Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi. This is the same author of Al-Kamal. He died 600 after Hijrah. This was the original work on Ilmul Rijal, one of the biggest works of Ilmul Rijal on the Kutubu Sitta, on the 6 books of Sihah as-Sitta. Next he gave Al-Ihkam li Ahadith al-Ahkam of Ibn Daqiq al-Eid. Ibn Daqiq al-Eid was one of the greatest scholars of the 7th centuries. He was the Shaykhul Islam of the 7th century. The ulama of the time knew him as Shaykhul Islam. Al-Ihkam is one of the best books when it comes to adillah. Adillah meaning proofs of fiqh. And especially, of course, he was a Shafi'i and then he turned into Maliki, mashallah. So that's another important, extremely important book. Mufti Bana in South Africa, our hadith teacher, the student of Sheikh Awama, he used to recommend us to read from this kitab as well. Then number 3, he mentions Al-Muntaqa fi Al-Ahkam by Abdul Salam Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. Al-Muntaqa fi Al-Ahkam by Ibn Taymiyyah. Then we have Al-Bulughul Maram. This is one that is studied all over the globe. All the Shafi'i students, they study this everywhere they are, mashallah. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani's Al-Bulughul Maram, one of the best commentaries written recently by Sheikh Nuruddin Itir, rahimahullah, one of our Damascus Syrian scholars that alhamdulillah we had the opportunity to meet with. Allah bless him and Allah bless his children that are alive. He's passed away. He was one of the greatest muhaddith. He was one of the muhaddithin of Sham. His daughters were known as the muhaddithat. They memorized the Kutub al-Sitta and more. Allahu Akbar. You know, that itself is a great achievement for our women folk. That's something which is extremely encouraged, especially in a decline of knowledge that we are in at this moment of time. Allah, inshallah, take us back to the days where our women folk used to memorize hadith instead of memorizing the lyrics of music and songs. Ya Allah. Then we have Atharus Sunan. This is one that I used to be teaching in Baitul Aman. Inshallah, we're going to carry this on very soon. Inshallah, we're going to carry this series of lectures of Atharus Sunan of Allama Nimawi, one of the books that's translated in English, on the book of Tahara and the book of Salah specifically for Hanafis. So all the Adillah, all the Hanafi hadith proofs are found inside Al-Atharus Sunan. And then if you want to go to the classical books, you'll find, for example, Imam al-Tahawi. Imam al-Tahawi, he has Sharh Mushkilul Athar, which is studied in many Darul Ulums around the world, especially the Hanafi Darul Ulums that are focused in. And Imam Tahawi, his books are such that even when Malikis, even when Hanbalis, even when Shafi'is read it, his proofs are so strong in hadith. And he's a very early scholar. He's one of the mujtahideen fil madhab, one of those that were of the highest caliber within the madhab. He was a Shafi'i originally, and then later he turned into Hanafi, and then he supported and defended the Hanafi madhab all the way throughout his life until his end. And we know him with Aqidah Tahawiyya that we normally study in all the Darul Ulums or all the institutes and madaris around the whole world. So Imam al-Tahawi, he's got Sharh Ma'ani al-Athar and Mushkil al-Athar. Mushkil al-Athar, the tahreej and the tahqiq was done by Sheikh Shu'aib al-Arnaout, one of the great scholars of the time that passed away recently as well. Now, this book is in 26 volumes. Imagine how much effort, how much time, how much sacrifice they put into this book. 26 volumes. Originally, normally it's printed in 4 volumes, like just the matan. But they done such a good takhrij of every single hadith, it came down to 26 volumes, mashallah. Mushkilul Athar, we don't normally study, but it is encouraged for students that go and do further studies in hadith and fiqh proofs to go and study Mushkilul Athar as well. And Imam al-Tahawi, there is no human in history, there is no alim in the pages of history like Imam al-Tahawi, the way he reconciles between texts. When there's confliction between hadith texts, there is no person that reconciles. These works of his, Sharh Ma'ani al-Athar and Mushkilul Athar, are based on reconciliation of the texts. You have one side's proof, you have another side's proof. How do you give tarjih, give precedence over one side's proof over the others? Okay, and then how do you make sense of the conflicting narrations, conflicting ahadith, okay, or conflicting narrations from the Sahabas even, you know, mawqufat, or the fatawa of the tabi'in and what do you call it, the tabi'in, the atba'u tabi'in as well. So these 2 books, Sharh Mushkilul Athar and Sharh Ma'ani al-Athar, these are extremely extreme. These cannot be emphasized enough. You know, Sharh Ma'ani al-Athar, mashallah, the first volume is printed in English. I've seen it by Turath Publications. It covers, I think, Tahara and Salah as well. Tahara and Salah. And you'll see the way Imam Tahawi does it. It's extremely, like, it's so beneficial, subhanAllah. When a Hanafi sees the book, any person from the other madhabs as well, when they see the book and the way the Hanafis present the fiqh he proofs in hadith, from hadith, it's absolutely phenomenal. So those are more classical works. Allama Nimawi, his one is more recent, meaning like 100 or 200 years ago. I'la Sunan is the encyclopedia. It's the book that Imam Zafar Ahmad Uthmani, he compiled. It's in 22 to 23 volumes, subhanallah. Most of the prints are like in 21 to 23 volumes. This is an encyclopedia of the dalils of the Hanafi madhab. He tried to compile all the adillah that is available on all the books that he could possibly find on the adillah of the Hanafiya, and he included it in one because of the fitna of the Salafiyya that say we are based on Quran and Sunnah, and the Hanafi madhab is not based on Quran and Sunnah. So he came and he researched books after books, books after books, books after books, hadith books after books, to bring out all the dalils of the Hanafi madhab from the fiqh books as well as the Hanafi hadith, as well as the hadith works. So that's I'la Sunan. I'la Sunan for the Hanafis, this is the masterpiece. Then we have Ma'arif Sunan as well. Okay, this is another book. This is the commentary of Tirmidhi. This is the commentary of Tirmidhi. This is a very important work again when it comes to the proofs and evidences of the Hanafi madhab. Ma'arif Sunan or Sharh at-Tirmidhi. Then we go on to, inshallah, now we go on to al-ijma'. Al-ijma'. Ijma' is the consensus of the scholars. Let's go through the definition of ijma' like the author says it. After the demise of Rasulullah, so after Rasulullah passed away, if the mujtahid scholars of any time, if the mujtahid, the high-ranking scholars of any single time period, they agree upon a ruling of a sharia, this will be called ijma'. Okay, this will be called ijma'. This is the definition of what is consensus in Islam. Consensus. This is the third proof in Islam. First proof in Islam is Quran, then hadith, sunnah. Then the third proof in Islam is ijma'. Ijma' means all the scholars agree upon this mas'ala. There's no differences of opinion. Okay. Look, sometimes we delve into too much of ikhtilaf. We like ikhtilaf. This madhab said this, that madhab said this, this madhab. Look, 90% of our deen we agree upon. There's no differences. All the rukun of the deen, all the fundamentals of the deen is agreed upon. Your salah, your zakah, your sawm. Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki doesn't do it much differently. Most of us do it the same. 90% of it is exactly the same. 10% there's leeway and there's room for some type of differences that is valid, That is valid differences that is understood from the Sahaba. It's not that the Imams are making up these rules. From the Sahaba, it is understood. Okay, that they had ikhtilaf from Rasulullah because they understood different teachings from Rasulullah at different times in different ways. Okay, Ibn Abbas understood it in one way. Ali radiallahu anhu understood it in another way. Ibn Umar understood it in another way. Abdullah bin Mas'ud understood it in another way. Umar radiallahu anhu, he understood it another way. Remember, there's a narration of qira'at. One of the Sahabas, he was reciting in a different qira'at, the way Rasulullah taught him, but he was reciting different to the way that Umar radiallahu anhu knew how to recite. He pulled him back after Salah and he said, tell me who taught you to read like this. He said, Rasulullah taught me like this. So Umar radiallahu anhu took him in rage. He was angered. He was like, Rasulullah didn't teach me like this. Rasulullah taught me different way. So he pulled him and he took him to Rasulullah. Imagine, this is Umar radiallahu anhu. He took him to Rasulullah and he said, read. In front of Rasulullah, he's telling this Sahabi, read in front of Rasulullah like you read in Salah to us. So he read. And Rasulullah said, that's okay. That's how I taught him. And then Umar radiallahu anhu read, and that's the way Rasulullah said, I taught you like this. Yes, both are valid. Both are valid ways of qira'at. Both are valid ways of recitation of the Quran. So, now, we gave you the definition of what's the meaning of consensus. Consensus. What is consensus? Consensus is after the demise of Rasulullah. So, in the time of Rasulullah, there's no such thing as consensus. Whilst Rasulullah is there, hadith is proof. Quran is proof, hadith is proof, because wahi is still there. After wahi cuts off, then the mujtahideen of a time, if they agree upon a mas'ala, any single issue, same view, all the mujtahideen, without exception, all the high-ranking scholars of the time, then this is called consensus, ijmaa. Ijma'ul ummah is the third proof in our Sharia Islamiyah. So we learn from this definition that ijma' of the ummah during the life of Rasulullah is not considered. Ijma' in the life of Rasulullah is not considered because why? Wahi has to come to an end. Quran and Sunnah is still there, Hadith is still there. You understand? So the mujtahids or the Sahabas can't agree upon something if Rasulullah is still there. Number two, the agreement of the general Muslims in any era is not ijma. Normal people like us, we don't have a say in Sharia. We don't have a say in Sharia. All the mujtahideen, top-ranking scholars of the world, that's what is considered. Okay? In every single region. Okay? Back in the days, it was Egypt, for example, Baghdad, for example, the main strongholds of knowledge. Yemen, Damascus, Sham, for example, Makkah, Medina, those were there. Okay, those couple of 5 or 6 or 7, those were the mainstream, huge hubs of knowledge. So then, okay, so normal people, if they agree upon something, this is not ijma. It has to be the top-ranking scholars. And the next one, the view of most mujtahideen is not called ijma. This is called ittifaq, agreement. That's why we say agreement of the scholars. Agreement of the scholars is not the same as consensus. Consensus is there's no single top-ranking scholar or anyone that's view is not rejected. If there's a scholar that his view is not even taken to consideration, then of course his view will not be considered. So, not most of the mujtahideen, all the mujtahideen have to agree. All the mujtahideen have to agree. If there is an agreement on some lexical, dictionary meaning or logical aspect that everyone agrees upon, this is not ijma. Okay? Just because it's logically agreed upon, rationally agreed upon, this is not called ijma. Okay? Or just because according to the definition of the dictionary, we all agree, this is not ijma. This is not ijma. This goes out of the definition of ijma. Okay? You can say there's an agreement upon the ulama that this is the meaning of this. That's fine. Everyone will agree. Or this is an agreement of all the ahlul mutakallimin, those scholars of aqidah, that this is the view. That's fine. No, you can't make it ijma unless it is ijma. Okay. Then we have ijma. There are two types of ijma: ijma qawli and ijma sukuti. Ijma qawli is in when everyone verbally, written, written and verbally states that this mas'ala is like this. So the Sahaba, for example, Umar radiallahu anhu came out, Mu'adh bin Jabal came out, Abdullah bin Mas'ud came out, Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu came out, Ibn Abbas came out. All the great Sahabas came out together and they verbally said this statement. Then, of course, there's no shadow of a doubt about it. This is ijma' qawli, verbal ijma'. Verbal ijma' of all the Sahabas or all the mujtahideen of the time. Okay? What's an example of verbal ijma'? For example, the Sahaba agree upon the issue that the grandmother will inherit 1/6. Okay, this is the type of, all the Sahaba, they verbally said it clearly that the grandmother only can inherit 1/6. Okay, ijma' sukuti is the second type, where not everyone announced it. The mujtahideen, so ijma' again refers only to the mujtahideen, highest ranking scholars of the time, not normal scholars, not students and teachers like us. No. Okay, this refers to normal people. This is not regarding normal people. This is regarding only scholars. Ijma is only referred to only scholars after the time of Rasulullah. Anytime after the time of Rasulullah. In this day and age, it becomes impossible. In this day and age, even our scholars say it becomes near impossibility because of the differences of time, because of the amount of scholars in different regions, and the differences that we have amongst every single nation and laws. It becomes not practically impossible, and there's no Amir, there's no Sultan as well. Okay, so practically ijma in this time and age is more or less impossible. Anyway, ijma as-sukuti is the second type. Qawli was verbal. Everyone, all the mujtahideen said this is the mas'ala. Everyone agrees. The Sahabas agree, the Tabi'een agree, the four Imams agree. This is ijma, qawli. Ijma sukuti is when a statement was said. For example, Umar radiallahu anhu said something. There was enough time for all the Sahabas to ponder and think over it and to refute it. No one refuted it. For example, ijma as-sukuti will be Salatul Tarawih. Salatul Tarawih being 20 rakats with the Imam, like Umar radiallahu anhu appointed Ubay bin Ka'ab radiallahu anhu to lead 20 rakats. This is ijma as-sukuti. Why? Umar radiallahu anhu made Ubay bin Ka'ab lead 20 rakats with the Sahaba and then 3 rakats of witr after that. This, all the Sahabas prayed behind Ubay bin Ka'ab without saying anything, without refuting Umar. Because if they knew that 20 rakats was wrong, they would have to refute Umar radiallahu anhu. Do you understand? So this is why this is like ijma as-sukuti. One person, one mujtahid says something, and the rest of them, they agree. They don't refute it. The rest of them, they agree. What's the example? For example, once, Umar radiallahu anhu said regarding the punishment of a woman. Punishment of a woman. She done haram. Yeah? She done haram. She wanted to punish the woman. Now the woman was pregnant from zina. Woman was pregnant from zina. So Umar radiallahu anhu wanted to punish her. But now she's pregnant. How are you going to punish? Mu'adh radiallahu anhu objected. He opposed Umar radiallahu anhu. He said, no, you have the right to punish the woman, but you do not have the right to punish the unborn child. You understand? Umar radiallahu anhu immediately retracted. He retracted. He understood, I'm wrong. I have to wait until the baby is born. Okay? I have to wait until the baby is born. Then I can only mete out the punishment of Allah on the woman. So this will not be ijma because he broke the ijma. Okay, even if it was the ijma as-sukuti, he broke it. So here, same. The rest of the Sahaba were silent. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu retracted. This is mentioned in Musannaf Abdul Razzaq. Musannaf Abdul Razzaq, I told you, is a huge compilation of hadith, massive, one of the earlier ones before Bukhari even existed. Okay, before Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud existed. This is before. Huge compilation, massive compilation. Anyway, the conditions of ijma as-sukuti, there are 3. The view of the mujtahid has reached all the people of knowledge. All the greatest, highest ranking ulama, they need to know of this, that there's an opinion that is this strong, and someone of the highest ranking scholars, for example, nowadays, Mufti Taqi Usmani says something. If Mufti Taqi Usmani says something, and all the ulama of Azhar, all the ulama of Medina, all the ulama of Riyadh, all the ulama of Yemen, yeah, Hadramaut, they agree on that same mas'ala exactly, then it will be considered as ijma. Then it will be considered as ijma. I told you the likelihood of that in this day and age is impossible. Okay, because of no amir. We don't have no sultan. After the view was mentioned, so much time has passed that there is sufficient for scholars to think over it. Think over this mas'ala. Is this correct? Is this not correct? Can I refute it? Shall I refute it? Shall I not refute it? Do you understand? There's enough time given. The matter is ijtihadi. If a mujtahid issues a fatwa against a clear text of Quran and Hadith, no, the guy is rejected anyway. He's going against something which is already nas, explicit text of the Quran and Hadith. His view is like no view. Do you understand? No matter how big of a mujtahid he is, no matter how many years he's been teaching in Oxford University, how many years he's been teaching in Cambridge University, it doesn't matter. He's going against direct nas of Quran and Hadith, direct explicit text of Quran and Hadith. You cannot accept his view. You cannot accept his view at all. No way. And him saying something and everyone remaining silent doesn't mean anything as well. Why? Because he's going against Quran and Sunnah directly. You understand? So that won't be considered as ijma at all. What's the proof of ijma? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Whoever opposes Allah, whoever opposes Rasul, the messenger of Allah, whoever opposes, goes against Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam after it has been made clear, and he follows the way of other than the believers. The believers, they're like a shield. The ummah is protected. My ummah, the hadith mentions here, indeed my ummah will never agree upon misguidance. Indeed, لا تجتمع أمتي على ضلالة. لا تجتمع أمتي على ضلالة. سواد الأعظم will stay سواد الأعظم. Okay, so now for people to come along, for example, all our muhaddithin throughout history, all our scholars of aqidah in history, all our scholars of tafsir throughout history are all Ash'aris and Maturidis. All our scholars of fiqh on 4 madhabs all around the whole globe, the whole world. There is no other scholars called Salafis in the world. Throughout history, 1,000 years of historical research, there's no Salafis. There's no Salafis. Salafis never existed. So you must think twice before you start following these lot. Okay? All the ulama of history, if they're on one band and these lot are on another band, then you must know لا تجتمع أمتي على ضلالة. My ummah will never ever agree upon, and the Sawadul A'zam is Sawadul A'zam. All the ulama, Sawadul A'zam of all the ulama in history, the whole Islamic library is Ash'aris and Maturidis. So for you to come and say otherwise, sorry, you will fall into the minority which goes against the majority, which Rasulullah said that the majority will be protected and they will not agree upon a matter that is absolutely deviant. It cannot be the case. My ummah will never, my ummah meaning here, the mujtahideen of my ummah. Not us. Not us. We are not considered. We are awam. Okay? The mujtahideen of the ummah, the highest ranking scholars of the ummah at any time will never agree upon misguidance. It's not possible. Okay? Khair, inshallah. We'll stop here. We'll continue with the sanad of ijma. Here means what is the basis? What's the basis of ijma itself? Okay? Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.